All right, Zero, we got 4 more to go here, and we have another topic we can do. So are you ready to spin that wheel?
Yeah, let's go with the
Let's
next one.
do it! Ah! And it spins. Where are we going? Uh-oh. So, Zero, if there is one company that I think had an awful year, it's Blizzard. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I mean all year. They dealt with bad press amongst bad press about either business practices or the way they treat their employees, and also to their games. Blizzard had 2 big releases this year, and that is Diablo Immortal and Overwatch 2. Now, why don't we get started with the first game that was released this year, and that's Diablo Immortal. We, of course, have read and heard the meme that was done in BlizzCon 2018, I think, with the guy asking if is this a out of season April Fool's joke, and then the "Do you not have phones?" The thing that the director said on there. I mean, we don't have to go over that again. Well, we just did, but we don't really have to go into too detail with that. But I think it's important to point out that when preview coverage was going on in this game, the talk was cautiously positive for Diablo Immortal. Was it not?
Yeah, the initial previews seemed to say, hey, just this seems like a great mobile translation of a Diablo game to mobile phones, and it's kind of neat that if you don't like the idea of playing it on your phone, you can play it on PC. So the initial thoughts seemed positive, but that all quickly turned sour once the game actually launched to the public, and then the the severity of the microtransactions really came to a head.
Right. And that's what people were cautious about when they said they were cautiously optimistic, because the alpha and beta versions that they released to the press and to people in New Zealand and I think Australia basically said the game's great, but we don't know what the microtransactions are like. So we see where they could go with it, but we're not sure exactly what it is. When it was released, oh my god. the amount of microtransactions and ways to spend money in this game was unbelievable. I want to point out that of the 2 of us, I think I spent the most money on Diablo Immortal. And only because I felt compelled to, just to know exactly how good or bad the service is. Did you spend any money on Diablo Immortal?
Actually, I managed to exercise self-control, and I didn't spend a single thing.
Ah, good for you. I played the game for 2 months. I got a couple of battle passes, and I also got the Boon of Plenty on there as well. And, which I think was a big mistake, anytime that they would have the end-of-act chests, I'd buy them as well. I ended up spending $110 on Diablo Immortal. And I will say this, at no point did I feel like that I was gaining power, or that I was gaining an advantage, or that I was going through the game at a faster, more, how do I put this? It didn't feel like I was getting more fun for the money I was making. In fact, I felt I was doing the bare minimum of what I should have been doing. With the $100 that I spent. And that, to me, essentially told me that they were expecting people to spend a lot of money to get powerful in the game, which is absolutely awful. Like, to spend $100 and think that you're not getting any extra fun out of it, or that you think you're getting the fun that you should have expected to get when the game is free, is just awful on this. But I do want to point out the game plays well. It is a good playing game, but the money I spent on it just made it feel absolutely unsatisfying. It was pretty bad, I think. But yeah, we can go over like a lot of the issues that it had. I mean, there were stories about you had to spend $150,000 to max level your character. There were stories of people spending double that to play the game. There were stories as well of people who were trying to get the gems, which are blind box items, and spending thousands upon thousands of dollars and not getting a 5-star gem. And then in my case, too, when I finally got a 5-star gem, it was the wrong gem that I needed. So the only thing I could do was break up that gem, which absolutely sucked. It was so terrible. So, yeah, there was a lot of greedy, disgusting mechanics in the game that I thought was a solid Diablo, not like a main Diablo that I would have considered a main Diablo, but it was disgusting to a point where I felt like I was being taken for a ride throughout the entire game to just spend more money, and it's awful. I look back at that and been like, I felt like I wasted my time and money, and that's not something you want when you're playing a game.
And I think what made things even more funnier was you had a few stories going around that some people who ended up being whales to just try to get everything maxed out on their character ended up getting so powerful that they ended up not being able to matchmake with other players.
Yep.
And in some cases, it just made these whales just want to completely quit the game because they were just like, okay, well, this sucks. I can't matchmake with anyone to kind of show off how swag I look with all my elite gear and shit. I've got no motivation to play. So, of course, Blizzard ends up having to scramble double time going, shit, we need to keep the whales. We need to keep them on the service. But how do we make sure that they get matched up into lobbies that are fair-ish, and that way these whales can show off how cool their gear looks and potentially get other players more interested in also playing Diablo Immortal and also putting money into the game and everything.
Yeah. We heard in the first month that they made about 50 million. I think that was the number going around. That they made about 50 million in the first month of Diablo Immortal. And people were like, oh my god, this just proves that they're being rewarded for their scummy behavior, which I will say to my dying day. If I was somebody who was running that game or put the money into that game, and that's what I got in the first month, I'd actually be kind of upset because of how much money that Diablo 3 made in its first month. It pales in comparison. And you can talk about, oh, but it's a long tail game. That doesn't freaking matter, because if a long tail game, like how I put it was this, okay? Business people who say long tail doesn't mean, they're not thinking, oh, it's going to take a lot of time to get my money back. They're thinking, oh, I'll get my money back and more in a long sense of time. That's what they were thinking. And I'm betting that's what they were thinking too on this. So my thought is that people who are running Activision Blizzard were probably not too pleased with the amount they were getting back. And I've also not heard much in regards to sales numbers and money being made on Diablo Immortal since then. So I would venture to guess that money went down a significant amount, but no one's talking about it. I mean, we'll find out probably, I would say, third quarter of next year, what the year end, the year over year money making thing is with Diablo Immortal. But I don't think it's going to be as big as I would say the first month of Diablo 3 would be. I'd venture 150, 175 million next year for the year. And again, if I was a shareholder, I'd be pretty disappointed because you're also sharing that with Tencent. and you also have to put more money into the game being made. So what you're probably getting in quote-unquote profit, if you are getting anything in profit, is something along the lines of, what, 70, 80 million? Maybe? That's me spitballing right there. So I don't think this is... I mean, they might be saying out there, oh, we're pleased with what we're making in Diablo Immortal, but I think I'd be pretty disappointed if I was a shareholder.
They have some popularity charts, and yeah, just it has slipped so hard.
Yeah.
Over the last couple months.
Right. And if they are serious about getting this game to have a healthy population and to make it as big as possible to make money, which I don't think is going to happen after they release Diablo 4, because I think a lot of people were playing this game out of curiosity and because they were wanting a new Diablo. But if they're going to do that, they're going to have to fix the monetization and make it a lot more fair than it was. So Diablo Immortal was... and it was also a sign of that the Blizzard of old is over. And the thing that people would point out is that this game probably wouldn't have been released under the old Blizzard. Like, and I have to agree, even though it was a mobile free-to-play game, I would have to agree, because I think that if it was old Blizzard, they would probably still do it free-to-play, but they wouldn't be making it as dependent on making money, for them making money to make you more powerful. So, like, you have to spend money to actually get gems. That's how bad it is. And the gems are the only way really to level up consistently in the game. So, it was... I had fun with it, but when it came to its monetizations, it killed the game after a while. So...
so let's move on to Overwatch 2 and
Yes.
just how much of a clusterfuck that has been just over the last couple months.
Yeah. When Overwatch 2 was announced, people were perplexed, to say the least, because the first thing was, why does there need to be a sequel? And when they announced it, they justified it in saying that we're going to have a whole new single-player campaign that is going to dive right with the multiplayer. And that was their justification of having a sequel. Well, unfortunately, the single-player stuff has not been released yet, so we don't know how good that is. And what it sounds like is the single-player stuff they are releasing next month is probably going to be a small chunk of it. But Overwatch 2 had some controversies even before it was released. And I think the big one was it going from 6v6 to 5v5. Now, I will say this. I think the change was a positive one. And I've kind of heard the same thing with others, too, who used to play Overwatch 2 a lot, where it was just a match of contrition, where the only way to win a match is one person has to make a small mistake, and then boom, the whole house of cards goes tumbling down. Whereas there's a lot more wiggle room with the way the 5v5 match is. I think it's a lot more fast-paced and a lot more fun in that. But a lot of Overwatch diehards were not happy with that. But they would have been fine if Overwatch 1 stuck around. But that's not what happened, is that, Zero?
No, they decided to go ahead and shut down Overwatch 1 almost immediately when Overwatch 2 went live to the public.
So that means if you have the disc for Overwatch 1, like I did for Xbox, okay, you can't play the game. Because even if you put the disc in, what it does then is automatically downloads the Overwatch 2 client and makes you play that game. So Overwatch 1 is essentially done. You can't even download it. You can't even play the assets on the disc. Because what the disc does is automatically puts you right into 2. And that's it. And especially, and something I found that was weird. Let's say you had Overwatch 1 installed on your Xbox, and then you have the assets there. Goes, oh, I'm going to play Overwatch 1, see what it's like. It would stop you from playing and download 2 automatically. So Overwatch 1 is essentially toast at this point. But I will say, too, you can play everything you did on Overwatch 1 on Overwatch 2. So it's not that big of a deal. But I think the people who miss 6v6 the most are the ones that were kind of pissed about that.
The other thing that ended up irking a lot of people was just how much of a cash grab the Overwatch coin shop was.
Oh yeah.
Just, I think the worst and most egregious example was the Kiriko premium skin set that they had during launch. It was like a whopping, I want to say like $20 or $35 or something, and the skin barely had any changes. It just looked, took away her Shrine Maiden outfit and just had her kind of like in kind of like a casual streetwear outfit, but it didn't change her Japanese paper talismans or anything. Like there were no unique weapon changes, which was a stark contrast to what a legendary skin pack would give you in Overwatch 1, where with legendary skins, it was a full cosmetic revamp of everything. The character's weapons, the character's clothes, just it was just the red carpet treatment. And here you have the first brand new character for Overwatch 2. She has a legendary skin for sale. And the only thing that has changed on the legendary skin is the character's clothes. It really got some people quite angry about it. And then I think the other thing that also got people really angry was during launch, there was a glitch that if you bought something from the store, in some rare cases, the store would double charge you on Overwatch coins, and if you went negative, you couldn't log into your account until you bought Overwatch coins to offset how much you were negative by.
Jesus. That's crazy. God, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, so some people ended up getting very pissed and having to basically just basically send tickets to the Blizzard support line and say, hey, I got double charged for a purchase, and now I can't get into my game because the game is saying you need to even out your balance before we can let you log in. Help me fix this because I didn't double purchase a freaking skin.
Yeah. And there were other issues as well going into Overwatch 2 coming out, but the sales shop was a big one. I mean, the sales shop was so damn bad that people were just like, I want the loot boxes back. A lot of people were saying that, which stunned me. But again, that's probably why they did it that way too. But anyway, the other thing that was pretty bad was the Battle Pass. Not only was it super grindy, it also limited to how much XP you can actually make. Like a lot of people, sometimes with Battle Passes, they'll just no-life the game for about a couple of weeks, and then they'll go ahead and just stop playing the game, or they'll just they'll play the game in a relaxing manner to play the game. In Overwatch 2, I mean, you can only get XP for 3 of the daily tasks that you have, and then that's the same with their weekly tasks. You only can get so many from there. And then there are lifetime and season pass XP things that you can get. And then even then with the battle pass, let's say you get the battle pass, but none of the characters that are having skins are characters you play as. It's a waste of money at that point. So, and then on top of that, someone calculated with all the free coins that you'd get, how much time it would take you to get, I would say, what was it, like a legendary skin with all the free coins that you're getting from the battle pass and from your quests. And I think it was a rather long time.
I think it was like anywhere from like 5 to 9 months or something.
Yeah, 7 to 8 months. Like, you can only get one legendary skin. That's how stingy they are with the rewards on this. There were a ton of problems, and it wasn't with the gameplay. Again, another thing with the Blizzard game, the gameplay wasn't the problem. It was the stuff around it. It was the monetization. It was the shop. It was the pass. That was what made it incredibly unsatisfying, because you weren't getting the steady stream of awards that you were getting in Overwatch 1. So, yeah, like, despite the games that Blizzard made this year being pretty good games, they were all pretty much bogged down by their shitty monetization practices. And this spells trouble for Diablo 4, because a lot of people, and me included, are excited for Diablo 4, but we're waiting for that other shoe to drop to know exactly what they're going to do with monetization, because they have said they're doing it. And they did say you're not going to be able to buy power when it comes to the cash, when it comes to Diablo 4. But that can be, that's some squirrely type of talk as well, because you can technically not buy power, but you can have an auction shop, or you can have a shop where you can buy a weapon, and you would need, I don't know, Diablo coins to purchase that weapon, and that technically is buying power, but you're not buying the weapon per se, you're buying the coins that buy the weapon. So technically, that's true. So I'm excited for Diablo 4 because it looks really good, but I'm cautiously excited because I don't know exactly what they're going to do when it comes to monetization. What do you think?
That's really what I'm quite skeptical on, because the previews that they've shown of Diablo 4 look interesting. And I mean, it's going back to the more macabre setting and design of Diablo 2. So if anyone out there thought that Diablo 3 was a little bit soft on the grotesque gore and stuff like that, then Diablo 4 is a little bit of a return to the direction that 2 was all about.
Yeah.
So there's that, but really just I'm more and more wondering about a potential situation where they use basically some sharky legal language, kind of like with Diablo Immortals and the gems, where they're just like, oh well, the players aren't technically buying loot boxes; they're just buying these gems that give them a chance to open some additional premium treasure if they beat a challenge skill dungeon, and if they fail the dungeon, they get the gems back. So it's technically not a loot box. And when I saw that sort of sharky legal chicanery, I was just like, ooh, this really does not bode well for Diablo 4, because I really have some serious ethical concerns about Diablo 4 using some sort of really shaky and ethically shady language. Like, oh, well, you're not buying sweet weapons directly. You're buying Diablo coins, and Diablo coins can be used for cosmetic stuff, or you can use it to shop around at the weapon shop or whatnot. So
yeah,
that's sort of the stuff that I'm kind of bracing myself for. I think the game is coming out to Game Pass day one, so I mean, worst case scenario, I just play it on Game Pass and find out whether or not I like it. And if it's just like, oh yeah, this microtransaction stuff, nope, hell no, I'm checking the fuck out. Then at least I won't be out any cash.
Right. And I can see also things like, I don't know, coin doublers, or a item that improves your odds when you open chests or something along those lines. There are many things they can do to fuck with the RNG of the game, to make you pay for other things to improve those odds. So again, technically you're not buying power, you're buying an extra chance to get more loot. And it could be all sorts of scummy things that they could do in that. This really was a year that, if you believed that Blizzard is on a downfall, this is the year that proved it. Because you have two of their biggest games and of their biggest franchises essentially having bad years. Maybe not sales-wise. I don't know the sales of Overwatch 2 and how that went, but when it comes to their standing of being like a gold tier publisher, that if it's a Blizzard game, it's a great game and you should buy it immediately. That, I think, came to an end this year. And it's kind of sad in a way. And I think that's also the reason why a lot of people are really hoping Microsoft buys Blizzard and Activision Blizzard out. Because their mentality is that they will make sure that Blizzard goes back to the way they used to be. Which I don't see that happening, but that's wishful thinking, I guess. But we will get into that when that topic comes in.
I think really just it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out, because at least with Blizzard and everything, because we've got the Microsoft Activision purchase that's kind of trapped in sort of legal limbo right now. So if by some miracle the sale passes, I know some people are hoping that Microsoft is going to magically fix the bad culture problem in Activision Blizzard, and I hate to be a Debbie Downer about this, but just I don't see Microsoft being the magic panacea that just magically fixes Blizzard. I just don't.
No, I don't either. I think a lot of people are hoping that, well, all right, we'll get into this real quickly and real smallly, but I think what they're hoping is that Bobby Kotick goes away, and I'm going to say right now, when they buy Activision Blizzard, he's not going anywhere.
I can see him staying on it short term as a consultant of sorts.
Yes.
But that's about it.
I think he'll get a nice payout, and he's one of those people who genuinely likes the job and likes what it gives him. Like, he is a perks guy. He is a guy that enjoys the power. He's not giving that up. He'll take the money, and he may not be the most powerful person in that company, but he's not giving up Activision Blizzard. He's just not going to do it. He, like you said, he'll be a consultant, or he'll stay with the company for a couple of years and then be out on his way after that. Thank you for listening to this podcast segment. The Capital Games podcast is done every week, and we post it on all your favorite podcast apps, as well as segments on YouTube. If you want to listen to another segment, you can listen to a new one right there on the screen. We also do a movie podcast called the Capital Games Movie Club. If you'd like, you can go ahead and click on that and see all the movies that we have reviewed from that point. Thank you for listening, and we hope to hear from you soon.